Hi, welcome today. If you guys can just have a seat here. Thank you for coming today. My name is Katy Oberbeck, and I'll be your mediator today. Feel free to just call me Katy. I graduated North Central College, and then I went on to Harvard Law, and I've mediated several cases. Can you both please introduce yourselves?
My name is Sarah Marvin.
My name's Julia Jones.
All right, thank you for both being here today. I just want to thank you for your willingness to try mediation as a way to solve conflict. Mediation is a good way to, get things understood without having to go to courts because, it takes a lot of time and money, and we all don't want to spend money, so mediation is a good alternative. So my job as a mediator here is to be a neutral third party to help you guide into making a decision on your own terms. Since you have decided to come to mediation, it's a way to reach an agreement and to help your relationship overall. Again, I'm here as an impartial party, so any decision that comes about today will be on your own, and I will have no influence on that decision. Mediation is also voluntary, since you brought your case here and it was not from the court. So since it is voluntary, it can end at any time if either one of you feels that's necessary. Also, everything you say here is confidential, so I will not talk about it unless given permission if I need to. And if need be, I will call a caucus. A caucus is used when things kind of start getting heated, or if we start getting off track of what we're talking about. So basically a caucus is when I will take one of you out at a time and I will discuss issues with one person separately. You will both have equal time to discuss what you'd like, and you'll have the same amount of time. Also, everything you say in the caucus will be confidential, and I will not bring it back to the group unless either one of you gives permission for that. Before we begin, I'd like to create some guidelines so that we can have a civil conversation and nothing gets too overwhelming or heated or anything like that. So do you guys have any guidelines that you would like to start with?
I would say no interrupting.
Okay.
I would say be respectful. No name calling or anything like that.
Alright, is there anything you guys can think of? Anything else?
Maybe no raising voices.
Great. Are these good for you, both of you?
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, I think that's great. So now that we have established some guidelines, we can begin. I'd like to remind you both that we're only here for an hour today, but if we cannot come to an agreement, we can always schedule another time so that we are able to finish this in mediation and we don't have to bring it to the courts. So can I just have a verbal agreement that you both agree with the terms that we've discussed?
Yes.
Okay, great. So then I will let each of you begin with an opening statement, and then we can just start our conversation. So Julia, since you brought the issue, I would like you to go first.
Okay. So Sarah and I are sisters, and recently we've gone through the trauma of our older sister and our brother-in-law passed away suddenly. They have 2 kids, a daughter Claire who is 6 and a son Caleb who is 3. And because we have no grandparents on either side and there wasn't anybody on the brother-in-law's side, Sarah and I have been trying to figure out who's going to get custody of the children. I think that I should have custody because I am in a long-term marriage. I have 2 kids already. I have a house that's big enough to accommodate the kids. And I feel like that I am financially stable enough to take on that responsibility. Sarah doesn't have the same, she's a single woman, businesswoman who commutes to Chicago every day, and I just don't think that that's very equipped to have 2 children.
Okay. Sarah, would you like to give your opening statement?
Okay, so going off of what Julia said, I feel as though I would be better equipped to have full custody of these two children because, like she stated, I'm single. I would be able to give them all of my undivided attention. I have no other kids in the house to pay attention to. I don't have any pets, nothing like that. And on top of that, I'm also a very hardworking businesswoman. I commute to Chicago during the week, and I've just been a very, very hardworking woman for a long time, and I've saved up a lot of money. And from that, I just really think that I would be able to provide whatever these children needed as far as, extracurricular activities, schooling, all of that. And Julia does have children of her own, and so I feel like, it would just be a better environment if those kids were with me so that I could give them the attention and everything that they needed during this hard time that they're going through.
Okay, thank you both for sharing. Before we begin our discussion, I would like to create an agenda just so that we hit the topics that we would like to discuss so that we can reach an agreement at the end. So let's put what you both feel is the most important issue at hand. What do you feel?
I would say talk about why each of us should have the custody. I mean, obviously we came here for the custody agreement, so I think custody should go, custody as far as why each of us should.
Maybe we could be a little bit more specific and first talk about each of our careers and kind of that aspect of our lives.
Okay.
And then maybe where we live could be another one.
Yeah, maybe what I was thinking is why we're best suited.
Yeah,
so
and
why
we can kind of hit all of those.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you'd both just like to discuss why you both would be suited for the children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I may ask, did you come in here hoping that we could have a final agreement of who gets custody, or is it just kind of a discussion as to?
I would hope that we could figure out who gets custody.
Okay.
I think the kids have gone through a lot, and it's time for them to have a stability.
Okay. So would it be okay then if after we talked about who's suited for, we can kind of start talking about who should get custody and all that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss besides custody?
I mean, both of us know that despite any type, whoever the kids go to, or whoever the kids stay with permanently, there will be other visitation rights.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be nice to have something sort of set in stone where, we're family, so I don't think that it would be anything, we don't have to have anything really major,
mm-hmm.
but,
just kind of go over it and discuss it, I think.
yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you don't want a formal written up agreement, or?
I don't think we need a formal written up agreement, but I think talking about what we're going to do for holidays,
mm-hmm.
seeing as I have my husband Dave's side of the family for holidays
mm-hmm.
and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Making sure that I get time if I don't get custody, and making sure Sarah gets time if I do get custody, and figuring out.
Okay. That sounds good. Is that okay with you, Sarah?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. And is there anything else you'd like to discuss besides, custody and visitation?
I think that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, if we can start to talk about why each of you feel you're best suited for the children. Julia, would you like to start with that discussion?
Sure. As I mentioned before, I've been married for a long time with my husband Dave, and we have 2 kids already. I don't think that there's anything wrong with a single mom or anything like that. I just think that Claire and Caleb, I mean, they both have known us their entire lives, but I think having, like, having Anthony and Nick, their cousins, surrounded by them and sort of going back into a family dynamic would be easier for them to move on from, not move on, but help grieve the loss of their mother and father. Additionally, I mean, I already have all the accommodations. I have a big enough house. We're financially stable. I'm already equipped. I already know I've already raised kids. I've already been through 6 and 3 years old. I just think that I would be able to provide the best place for them.
Okay. So just to clarify, you just think that you'd be better suited because you already have the establishment of a family, and you also feel that having Caleb and Claire in your family and the environment will help them grieve better as well?
Yes.
Okay. And Sarah, would you like to?
I mean, I totally understand where Julia's coming from, but at the same time, my thinking is just like, I mean, if these two poor kids were to come into her household, I mean, yes, I know that she would pay very good attention to them and, you know, take care of them and all of that, but, I mean, having 2 children of her own, I just feel like naturally she's going to pay more attention to her own children. And with that aspect, like, I just feel like I could give them all of my attention. Like, I can focus all of my energy, all of my attention, all of my money, everything on these 2 kids. And, I mean, yeah, it's great for them to be around their cousins, like she said, but, I mean, I would always be willing to come and visit, and they could still be around them all of the time. Like, Julia and I are very close, so I would have no problem, you know, stopping by. They could have play dates, you know, sleepovers, you know, once in a while. But I just think that the smart decision here would be to think financially, and I have been saving money for a very long time, and, you know, I'm kind of at that stage. I have, you know, I am in a relationship, but we haven't really gotten to that point of marriage yet. But I mean, it's in the near future, and so it's not that far off from kind of where I'm at in my life. And I just think that, you know, it's time for me to take on this responsibility, and I definitely think that I can do it. Julia knows how responsible I am and hardworking, and, you know, I just don't really see the issue here. I mean, she has 2 children of her own, and, you know, these kids just need a lot more than I think she would be able to provide for them at this time.
Okay.
See, but I do agree with Sarah that she's very hardworking, but a few points are, but you aren't married yet. So if you and Patrick break up, then, you know, that's another loss for the kids. They don't understand that. They don't get that yet. That you can be dating somebody and things like that. Also, Sarah lives in Downers Grove, but she commutes to the city for work. So say if there's a problem at school, or if one of the kids gets sick randomly at school and they need to be picked up, then she has to travel all the way from Chicago back to here. Whereas the schools in Naperville are great schools. I'm close by. I would be able to get off of work, no problem. And as far as, like, paying attention to the kids, I love those kids, so how dare you say that? I can't believe that you would even bring that into this. That is, Sarah, I'm so disappointed in you. I can't believe you. I can't even handle it.
If we can just, you know, remember the guidelines that we're not raising our voices. I think this would be.
Well, but she's sitting there telling me that I'm not going to be
I
able
really
to.
have something to
It's
say.
just not fair.
I think
not
we're just
fair.
gonna take a second. We're gonna call a caucus, just so that we can, you know, collect ourselves, and then we can bring it back, hopefully in a calm manner. So Julia, I'm gonna have you stay here, and Sarah, I will bring you out. Okay, Julia, thanks for staying here.
Thank you for getting her out of the room.
Okay, so if we could just. Alright, so if you just want to tell me, like, you know, what's going on and what you think the issues at hand are.
What really got to me is that Sarah said that I would always gravitate towards my own kids.
Mhm.
I love Claire and Caleb just
Yeah.
like they were my own kids, and they are. I've known them for their entire lives. I've seen them grow up
Yeah.
just as much as I've seen my kids.
Mhm.
So the fact that she thinks that I wouldn't be able to love them just as much as I love my own children and pay attention to them. I'm a good mom. I would know how to do that.
Yeah.
She spends all of her time finagling with Patrick, and I don't even think that she would know what to do if a kid had a fever. I don't think that she would know.
Okay, so like I understand what you're saying. What do you think would be a solution to this issue?
I think give me custody, and then I will take care of them the way that they should be taken care of, instead of Miss Chicago, I'm a city girl, but I fake it, so I go back to Downers Grove. It's just not right.
Yeah. Okay, so am I hearing that you would like full custody or?
Yes, I would like full custody. I think that I provide the kids with an environment that is enriching, that has love, and that they're able to adapt rather than going to an empty house with just like she would have to move. She would have to move all of her stuff. That'd be a whole new place for them. And I mean, she just living by commuting with kids so young. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so you know we've kind of talked about why you feel like you're better suited for full custody, and then we discussed you know the full custody that is what you want. Is there anything about visitation that you'd be willing to discuss with Sarah?
I mean, she could come by whenever she wants. I mean, my kids love her. Claire and Caleb love her, and that's never the issue, but I think that her having the kids full time would just be, it just wouldn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so would you be willing to, like have like I know we talked about not like having a written formal agreement, but just like an understanding of she can come over on certain days or just whenever she feels like she wants to come over.
Yeah, she can come over whenever she wants. I know that she's busy. I know that she has stuff to do, so I know it wouldn't be like she shows up to my house every day. But I mean, she can always come over. Always. I mean, we are family too, so I would love to see her too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think in this case, she needs to step outside and realize that Claire and Caleb are best suited with a bigger family, and she has a lot on her plate right now. You know, if she wanted to do something like adopt or something like that, that's one thing, but these kids have gone through so much, and I think they just need a more stable environment that's more used to that's more alike to what they're used to.
Okay, so for what we discussed, you feel that it'd be better if you had full custody of Claire and Caleb?
Yes.
Okay, and then as far as visitation with Sarah, she can come over whenever she wants. You don't have to have like a written agreement or anything like that.
I mean, just let me know when she's planning on coming over.
Mm-hmm.
I can make extra dinner for her.
Okay, so for what we discussed, would you be willing to bring that back to the group?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna bring you out and bring Sarah. All right, Sarah, if you can just come back in here. Thank you for waiting.
No problem.
So if you just want to kind of talk to me and tell me what you're feeling about everything.
Well, first of all, I don't understand why Julia got so upset. I mean, I was just stating something that I think is very obvious. I mean, I just really think that I could provide better care for these children at this point. And I have a lot of experience with children. It's not like I'm taking on something that I have no, prior knowledge on. I know, I understand that they would need like bedtimes. I know how to take care of them if they were sick.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken them to the doctor, when my sister needed me to before in the past. So, I know where that is. I pretty much know like a lot of, their daily routine things that I would just be able to take on myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I just have money to, really
Mm-hmm.
properly care for these kids. There would be no issues. I wouldn't have to, eventually pay for other two kids' colleges like, Julia has to.
Mm-hmm.
These two kids are, if I were to get full custody from then on, would just be my main priorities. I wouldn't have anything else to really worry about. And as far as my, relationship that I'm in, he lives in Chicago by my work. He's not in the same town that I currently live in. Therefore, he wouldn't be, that big of an impact
Mm-hmm.
right now on these kids. So if something, God forbid, were to happen as with Patrick and I, like we were to break up, I really don't think that, it would, tear these kids apart. And I just can't see it really affecting
Mm-hmm.
them that much at this point, because it's not like that, and I wouldn't put these kids in that position.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, you just feel like one of the main reasons you feel like you'd be better suited is just the fact that you have, more financial security than
Mhm.
Julia would have.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. As far as we talked about like suited for. As far as custody, what were you looking to get with that?
I mean, I just think that it needs to be full custody.
Okay.
Because I don't think that these kids deserve to go back and forth and have to go through all of that because they've never had to before. So, I mean, just to keep that like stability in their life that they, that has been taken from them drastically. I just think that they need that back as soon as possible. So full custody would be the most appropriate.
Okay, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
What, as far as visitations with Julia and her family, what would you be willing to do in that situation?
I mean, Julia and I are very close, and if, like we kind of mentioned earlier, I don't think a written down, like, detailed, specific, like, visitation agreement is necessary at all, because, my door's always open for family. She's always welcome. And I would be willing to let her and her kids and her husband, anyone, come over whenever it's necessary.
Okay. So from what we've discussed, as far as custody, you would like full custody, and you think
Yes.
that would be best for the children, because you have the more, financial stability. And then as far as visitation, it's kind of an open door, like no written agreement or anything like that.
I just don't think it's necessary.
Okay. But you would be willing, as much as Julia wanted to see the kids, like you'd be willing to do
Yeah,
that.
as long as like they didn't have, I know Claire is in ballet, so as long as she didn't have, a recital or something on that day, I mean, she's always welcome.
Okay.
And I could even invite her to these kids, like
Yeah.
sporting events and all of that, if she would like to come.
So it sounds like, you don't want full custody and then keep them away from Julia.
No,
like,
not at all.
Okay. Well, that's good. So as far as, bringing this back to the table, would you be willing to, bring it back and say about the custody and about the visitation?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I already told her that, but I
Mhm.
can definitely kind of go more in depth with it if it'll make her understand
Mm-hmm. Okay.
my point of view better.
Is there anything else you would like to discuss with me without Julia present?
I mean, one other thing that came to mind a little bit ago was that she brought up, if something were to happen at school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do work in Chicago, and that is kind of, a drive if something were to happen at school or something. And I wouldn't be able to get there immediately. But I mean, when we were talking about like visitation and all of that and just the overall care for these kids, if she, if we could agree that if something were to happen, like she could be like first on that list to like come to the schools or like be there, to pick them up sometimes, like I would have no problem, putting her as that important role.
Okay. And is that something you'd like to also just bring back just so she's aware of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
I mean, I also just think that it's kind of important that we are still, letting these kids have contact with their father's family.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And as far as like holidays go and stuff, I know Julia has a husband and his whole family that she needs to take into consideration. So, I mean, for her to have to think of his family, our family, and now these kids' father's family is just kind of a lot. And, I think that I could, balance that better for them, and make sure that they would be able to still have a lot of contact with his family.
Okay. All right, great. Well, then I'm going to bring Julia back in and we can finish up.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Julia, for waiting. Okay, so basically both of you were very willing to bring what we've discussed back to the table. Again, we both separately, you both discussed like why you think you'd be better suited for the children. And Julia, you had mentioned that you would prefer full custody of the children based on, your establishment already. You have, 2 kids, marriage, and you have that environment that they would need. And as far as visitation with Sarah, you have agreed, or you said that they can come over whenever they want. You have no problem having Sarah part of their lives, and you also don't find it necessary to have a written agreement or anything like that. And Sarah, you also would like full custody of the children. You think that because you have, the financial stability that would be better for them, and also you would be able to give them more attention than Julia would be able to with her 2 children. And then again, as far as visitation, you both are on the same page with, the willingness to have them see Julia, and, just for them to be a part of each other's lives. So I think that's good that we're both willing to say that we want the kids to be a part of your lives. As far as the custody, I would like to move on to the custody part of our agenda, just so we can figure that out. And since you both want full custody, this is something that we would need to discuss. I think this might take most of our time as far as our agenda, since we have already kind of decided that our visitation is pretty, you're both pretty willing to figure that out. So if you'd like to talk about custody and what you'd like to do with that, because obviously, it's not possible for you both to have full custody of the children. So that would be something that we'd have to try to compromise on if possible. So Julia, if you would like to, start off with your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sarah and I both agreed that full custody would be best for the kids. Excuse me. Because I believe that they need stability. They need to have the environment where they're not moving back and forth. We want them to find a place where they can really really, I guess, sink in and flourish and feel like it's home.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I believe I should have full custody, not just why I'm suited for it, but I think I would know better what decisions should be made, and I know what goes into raising kids and into making those decisions. I know both of us have great insurance plans, so that would all be okay. But I think, Sarah doesn't have the doctor that's already picked out. She doesn't know all of the, where are the best places to go for things like sports, and where are the, what about carpools, and, I already have this sort of network where I can, just network of other moms and other people in my area, where if there is ever a problem, I can be there, or somebody that I know can pick them up. I know and trust.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that Sarah has those those necessities right now. I absolutely think that if Sarah wants a child, she should be able to have a child, whether that means having one with somebody or adopting or something like that. But I think taking on 2 kids who are already 6 and 3 is a big deal. So I mean, it's not like I'm just doing this just for the kids, but it's also what I feel is for Sarah too, because I think that this is a lot to take on, and I know therapists, and I know people that the kids can go to that I trust and I know do a good job. So.
Okay. Sarah, do you have any response to that?
I totally understand where Julia's coming from. Her points are very valid, and I respect that. But, she mentioned her already having, doctors, sports, carpools, all of that. But, I get that, and I think that that's awesome that she would kind of include these kids now in her own kind of life and routine. But what I would do is I would keep what they already have, and I would be able to do that. I would take them to the doctor that they're already going to. I wouldn't change to, my kids.
Mm-hmm.
If she were to keep these kids at their own doctor, then she's having two separate places that she's going to for the same thing for these kids. And as far as sports, Claire and Caleb are involved in different sports than her own. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like it's going to be hard for her to balance all of these things. And I would be able to, keep them in everything that they're currently in, and potentially sign them up for even more things, since I have the money and the time to do that. My weekends are free. I don't have, my own kids' events going on, and a husband also to balance in the mix. I'm literally going to be dedicating all of my time and money and effort to these kids. And, I just think that it would make the most sense for these kids to be placed with someone that has all of that to provide for them and doesn't have multiple other people to, love strongly and support and all of that. Protect. She already has a husband and 2 other kids that she's doing that for. So, that's pretty much where I stand.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing is you just feel like it would make more sense for the kids to be with you because you can keep that routine that they have.
Exactly.
And everything else, you can keep it stable without having to
change to what she has going on with her own kids. Like, I think that that's great that she has that routine and everything, but to force these two little kids to, like, you know, have practically a whole different life is just, you know, unfair to them.
Julian, do you have any?
Yeah, see, I disagree. I think that, I mean, they have a whole different life now. Like, I am not our older sister, so I'm not really sure how Sarah's planning on keeping all of their same routines when she doesn't even get back into Downers Grove until like 7 o'clock at night from her job, like with the train. And then what happens if something happens with the train and she's unable to get home? You know, what happens then? For me, I think I just think I'm able to provide them with a start over and a start, like, I mean, there's no way Sarah would be able to keep the same routine because she lives in Downers Grove. Then she'd have to go to Downers Grove to get them, then take them to Plainfield to go do whatever they need to do. And by the time she gets home, it's already, like I said, it's already 7 o'clock, and Caleb is already going to be in bed in an hour. I just don't think that she really realizes that while she says that she has a lot of times, yes, she might have that on weekends, but I mean, she doesn't have that during the week. And I think another thing, as I mentioned before, we have really good schools. We have really good schools in Naperville, and Caleb hasn't even started school yet. Claire's going to be going into first grade. I know that there's young kids in our neighborhood, so she's at an early enough age where she's only been in kindergarten. So the schools where I am, like I said, I have that network, and they're great schools. So it makes more sense for them to live with me full time. Excuse me. Sarah had mentioned that her weekends are free, and I totally agree. I'm always busy as a mom, but I'm not too busy to take care of who I think of my kids, Claire and Caleb, as well as Anthony and Nick.
Can I ask Julia a question?
No.
Didn't you want to have more kids too with your husband? So that means that you would have 4 kids and then plus have more of your own?
But you're right, I did want to have more kids, so that's why it makes more sense for Claire and Caleb to come live with me. I want more kids, and I love these kids for my life, and I'm not going to say that I won't have more kids, but it's not as if it's not as if I have to put a limit on how many kids I can have. I mean, I'm not going to be Octomom or like 19 kids and counting, but I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that me taking on 2 more kids it's something that we're prepared for. You're right, we were already talking about more kids, so it would be a blessing to be able to have them.
I mean,
If I may, I think you've both done a good job of, stating why you both feel it would be best for the kids to be with you. If you both agree, I think we should maybe start talking about custody and seeing, instead of arguing each other's sides, seeing just having an agreement about what type of custody we will have. If one person decides that full custody for the sisters what they want, or if we can do something as far as joint custody, I think we should move on to that and see what we can talk about.
Well, I think sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think we have an agreement as far as both of us believe full custody of both children. I don't think either of us would never want to split up the children. However, as Sarah was saying that she's free on weekends, if I had full custody, I would be more than happy, a month or something like that to have Sarah take Claire and Caleb and, take them for the weekend and have them stay the night at their house. She could even, I know that she loves my kids too, so if she wants, what I would hope is that Claire and Caleb would feel like a brother and sister to Anthony and Nick. They're young enough, my kids are young enough where they would grow up together. So, if a weekend, a month, she wants to take them for the entire weekend, they can go stay at her house, they can go and they can do whatever. She could take Claire and Caleb, and if she wanted to, she could have Nick and Anthony be there as well. So that way, it's not separating a family.
I would be open to discuss this a little bit further. I kind of like the track that she's going down here. I definitely, if I were to take the kids for a weekend, I would want to take all of them. I don't think that singling those Caleb and Claire out would make much sense, and I don't know if they would understand why just them two are coming with me and not everyone. And since I do love all of them equally, I think that, taking them all for a weekend would make the most sense. And but my only concern is one weekend a month isn't really that satisfying to me. I would want more time with all of them, and I don't know what you would be open to agreeing to as far as that.
Right. I like I said before, you'd always be willing to come and see all of them. Just come see us all the time. You've always been welcome in our house. I'm only wary to add more weekends because I'm already a little bit nervous. As you had mentioned before, the kids all have stuff constantly for weekends. So I just don't really. I just think having the one weekend, and I don't really know that I would want to make that permanent, every third weekend or something like that. And because I think you have stuff going on too, so I think this would sort of be part of the visitation deal. And I would even be willing for spring break, or I know that you have more disposable income to bring, so if you wanted to take them on a trip somewhere, or we could all go on a trip somewhere, and you could help pay for Claire and Caleb, and we could all do something together, or you can take them for a week during the summer and stuff like that. I just think to add another weekend, or to even make it so set in stone, that I would never want to keep the kids away from you. So I would always it would just have to be both of us talking a lot about what works for us and the kids.
Okay, and I totally appreciate everything that you're saying right now, and I feel like we could definitely come to an agreement as far as this. I just have a couple things to say regarding what you had said. First of all, I don't ask to have certain weekends set in stone. I just asked, I just want to make it clear that I'm always welcome. I know I was prior to this whole tragedy, but I just want to know that I can come over and see these kids, and just for peace of mind, know that they're doing okay. And whether it's just to come and have dinner with everyone, or come and help them with their homework for a little bit. I definitely wanna, for our sister and brother-in-law, I really wanna make sure that I'm there. And if you feel as though your routine and all of that would be better for these kids, since you are a mother right now, I'm gonna put my trust in you with that. But I definitely will want to be a big part of these kids' upbringing, and I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can. And so going off of that, since I did mention earlier that I have a lot of disposable income, I would want to help in a way where I was paying for all of their extracurricular activities. Would you let me, pay for a written down, like, short list of certain things, just so I feel like I'm doing my part here?
Absolutely. And I think, that would help us a lot too. I of course want you to be in their lives. I think I would, even for the times when you can't make it there, or we might only be home for like a half hour, I think making sure that at least once a week there's a phone conversation that you can talk to all the kids and just say
that would be great.
So I think that
okay. So I think we're making good progress, and you had mentioned money and helping them out financially. Why don't we can say that in just a bit, so we can just focus on the custody and just make sure that we're in understanding of the custody and the visitation. So as far as custody and like the legality of it, are we saying that Julia will have full custody of the children?
If you're positive that you can take on this big responsibility of these two kids, then some of the things that you said today kind of opened my eyes to where you're coming from, and I would be willing to make that agreement if you are positive.
Yes, I'm absolutely positive. Both Dave and I love these kids, and as you had mentioned before, we are looking forward to having more kids, and it would be, we are more than, in all areas, ready for more.
Okay, then I think that we agreed on that.
So that we're in agreement with that. All right, and then as far as the visitation, I think several times during this mediation we've agreed that we don't want anything written down that we would have to stick with. But we did talk about weekends, and you had mentioned that you didn't want to do more than like one weekend a month just during the school year. Is that right?
Yeah, just during the school year. When they have time off, then we can make. The reason I don't want to have everything all written down in an agreement is because we're family, and I would hope that it wouldn't be, Mom's only letting us go because it's written down somewhere, and Aunt Sarah only wants us to be there because she has to have us. So I think, I'm more than happy with at least with a weekend a month. But I also know that things come up, and Sarah's very busy, we are very busy, but as long as we make that effort to do it, I think, yeah.
So, sorry to interrupt, I just want to kind of clarify that. I don't necessarily need like a weekend. I just want to know that I'm welcome at any time,
yes.
Whether that's during the week, a weekend, if it works out that way where the kids have no homework and no other, things going on for a weekend, then yeah, I can, at that time, I can, perhaps have them over at my house. But I just don't even think that we should, say specifically, weekends. Because I want to be there during the week, too.
Yeah. Sorry, I was interrupting, but I absolutely agree. You're more than welcome to come whenever you want. Just let me know. So we can take care of it, and I can also, provide anytime I get a schedule for sporting events when everything is whether it's practice or games or something, I can give that to you, so that way you know what our schedule is, and you can sort of go, work around that.
And then just kind of going off of the whole visitation topic, I just want to make sure that we agreed on the phone conversations as well during the week, so that would be another agreement, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. So if we're all in agreement on that, would you guys like to move on to the money issue?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't really think that there's there's too much to talk about. I'm more than happy to have anything that Sarah wants to contribute. She's more than welcome. Whether it's a college fund for the kids, or paying for extracurriculars, or buying them anything. I'm not in any way going to limit the amount that she would like to give. I'm more than happy and I think this is mainly because we are both on the same page that we want to make sure that all of the kids are felt like they're a family. So it's not just Claire and Caleb, but it's also Anthony and Nick, who not that you have to pay for the extracurricular activities, but you wouldn't be buying Claire and Caleb these extravagant gifts and then not including Anthony and Nick. So I think, as long as that's understood, I'm more than happy for you to pay whatever you would like.
Kind of what I was saying earlier, and then she brought up something else that I'd like to comment on.
Sure.
First, I'd like to have an agreement to pay for all of their extracurricular activities. Not her kids, just Caleb and Claire.
Okay.
So I'd like to pay, as they grow up, I want to pay for all of their extracurricular expenses, so, the cost of the uniforms and all of that. And that's, just to clarify even further, that's whatever they want to be involved in. So say next year Claire wants to start playing basketball, I will take that on since I have the money to do so. And then you mentioned something about a college fund, and I really like that idea. So I think that that's something else that we could agree on today, is that I would open a college fund for both Claire and Caleb separately, two different accounts, and I could start putting money into these savings accounts each month, and that would go towards their college fund.
Okay, that sounds awesome. For the extracurricular activities, did you want to set up until they're a certain age, and then?
I would say out of high school. I would be willing to pay until they're done with high school, and I would just expect from my sister that she provides me with all of the information for these leagues that they're going to be participating in.
Yeah. So as long as you get the information of what's going on.
Just so I know what I'm paying for,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I just thought of, and if you guys don't want to discuss this, that's up to you. As far as schooling, is there anything you want to talk about with that?
I don't really think so. Other than the college fund, we can, I think, by her paying extracurriculars, we should pay for school for all the kids. I think that's fair. I think that school is expensive, extracurriculars are too. So I would think it would come out to about equal. Claire and Caleb are really active. So.
Do you think that you would be able to pay for those expenses, the school?
Okay. Yeah.
And if you ever do run into any financial problems, I just want you to know that you can come to me, even though we did have to go to mediation over this. I don't want you to feel I said I was ready to take this on, and so I don't want to admit that I'm having difficulties. I want you to come to me.
Yeah. No. Both Dave and I have really good jobs. We are financially stable. We know that adding 2 kids is going to cost a lot because the kids cost a lot. But both of us, we would be able to do the things that that Sarah is offering to do. So we would be able to cover that. But because Sarah would like to, and because she wants to be a part of their lives, I know that neither of us would have a problem with that.
Okay, sounds good. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss as far as, money or, anything about the visitation as well?
No, I mean, I think that, I just think that, I appreciate that Sarah understands that we're prepared to do this, and I think I want to make sure that when Sarah comes over that she's not making Anthony and Nick feel like she's only there for Claire and Caleb, that she's only, that's the only reason they ever see her. And I think we kind of talked about that, but if you could just expand, just make sure, just so I know that you wouldn't just be just there for them.
Yeah, as you know, I love your kids just as much. I mean, I love everyone equally in my family, especially the kids that are involved, and I would come over. I mean, I visited in the past your house to see your kids, and it would just pretty much be the same thing. And if I were to, plan a weekend at, Six Flags or something in the future, I would include all of the kids in that. I would never just, take Caleb and Claire to do something like that. And as far as presents go and all of that in the future, I'm gonna equal everything out. I know how children work. I don't want to cause any more confusion to these kids than they're gonna already have to go through. So.
Okay. It sounds like we've kind of come to an agreement with everything we've discussed. Just to go over everything again, as far as custody, you both agreed that Julia will have full custody as far as, legally, and all that. Visitation, we again have no formal, written agreement because, you guys have said because you're family, you don't want that restriction or anything like that. So we talked about that Sarah can come over, whenever she would like, as and obviously as far as kids go, that they have no homework going on or anything that day, and she doesn't necessarily need the weekends, but if it so happens that there's a free weekend, that she won't only take Caleb and Claire, but she'll also take your children, Nick and Anthony, as well. And then you guys have discussed trips and all that, and that Sarah would pay for them if they go on trips. And then Sarah, you wanted to make sure that there's phone conversations that are going on during the week with Claire and Caleb, just so you can maintain that relationship with them. And then for money, Sarah, you discussed that you wanted to pay for their extracurricular activities, up until they're out of high school. And you also wanted to have a college fund for both of them, just so, it takes the strain off of Julia, so that she has that for Claire and Caleb when they decide to go to college. And then, for schooling, Julia, you'll pay for the school, and, the extracurriculars will go to Sarah, so that kind of evens out. But Sarah did offer up, any help that you may need if you and your husband decide that there's ever a time where you guys would need help. If there's nothing else you guys would like to discuss, I think we've come to a good ending in our mediation.
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I will have my assistant type all this up, and you guys can sign it on your way out.